Let's go.
Alright, so in front of me here we have the top 24 deck. So I have categorized them into decks that aren't relevant, decks that are relevant, up and comers, and the top deck. So let's start with the decks that aren't relevant. So the first deck that isn't relevant would be Blissey. So Blissey actually hasn't had that good of a showing as of recently. And since the current format, just a couple decks, no notable places or finishes, so not doing that well. And if we check in the last couple months, there's been one top place here in top 3, one placement in the top 30, and that's all the way back in April. So previous format and stuff, and quite in February. So it was in Japan, so that's a good indicator of having a good placement, and that was in that format it was decent, but currently not that much, so not relevant. Then we have also Rowan Moon, which again same reason, hasn't had that good placements, a lot of entries. We have that one first place in that special event, but since the new formats, no real showings here, like barely scraping by. We had some good placements since May, but since the format has changed, no really good showings there, and no top showings for the year so far. The next that isn't that relevant would be the Future Deck. We like it, had a lot of promise, but again, hasn't been able to consistently break into that even top 30 as of recent. We had 114th place in Malaysia in 2024, and that's about it. Since the year, hasn't had a single even top 100 placement other than this once in February, and again that's many formats ago, so no real hope there. And then we have the Rocket Mewtwo, a lot of hype and promise, but again hasn't been really seen play, not that consistent, and not World's material. The next one would be Iron Thorns, which the current meta not really doing too bad, but the current build with the Crustle hasn't been doing that well. There hasn't been any placements yet with the just straight Iron Thorns, but there's an argument to be made that it could be a surprise, but highly unlikely with the low energy decks in the format. So let's continue going. Next will be the Tera Box. This is straight Tera Box here. So these variants would mostly try to focus on Noctowl and just a lot of Terra Pokemon in them. Different people play different things. Again, this is one of the most popular decks in that May format before this previous rotation here, and had some really good placements in May. So it was one of those popular decks, but it has shifted out of favor in favor of the newer decks. So it has sharply dropped off, but don't be surprised to see one of these decks make a comeback, but highly unlikely because they have better Tera Box variants than this we have here, that just playing a lot of different Terras and all that. Had a more focused variant that high up on the list, which is the Eevee variant, and even has with the release of more Ogerpons, the Ogerpon variant, which is much higher. So again, that one there, not really going to make a big fuss. Next, further up on the list, we have Ceruledge. Again, was a beast from March, April into May, but with the turn of the format, hasn't found its way and is unable to currently squeak into the format. Again, by no means a weak deck. It's very high on the list, very popular, but not going to make the cut. The matchups are too tough, especially when you come up against decks like Raging Bolt, where hit points don't matter, Golden Go, or even with type advantage, Golden Go going to get rid of you. The Eaton Typhlosion, I'll keep mentioning that. The Gardy, it's really tough. It's really tough. The next deck that just don't have it, and I highly don't going to make the cut, is Cynthia's Garchomp. Again, it's pretty new, but people have been trying and it hasn't been able to break through as yet. It hasn't made a top 30 showing, and that is mostly, I would chop that up to being just really bulky, like it can take a hit, but the damage output and consistency isn't there. So even the top showings, like not really that good. 60 at the best. That's not too bad. That's not bad, but it's also not very. So we have one more deck from this list that I'll say is not relevant and has no chance of winning, buying, like they get some really advantageous matches, and that would be the Toedscruel Ogerpon. So again, they have a lot of protection, they have a bit of damage, but in terms of consistency and speed, they don't have it. Comparing to the top decks in the format and being all 2 prizes, their ability to lose the prize race is so easy that it puts them at a disadvantage. And again, it's not by no means not a popular deck. But he made a top 5 showing recently. But again, there's rules. This is where people come in at their best. I don't think they'll make the cut. The bench protection isn't going to just cut it and get you to top of wood buying really advantageous matchups. So again, all these things are variable and depend on the types of matchups you get. So you could be running a goddamn Kangaskhan deck and you have a chance of making it because your opponent could brick or just get dunked all the way up. So those are the ones that I have as not relevant. So now let's get to the relevant deck. So these are the decks that are relevant, meaning they have a shot but not the best shot. So let's start off with Tera Box. As I just said, it has a shot but not a good one. So we'll leave that right. It's popular but not really going to cut it. But Great Tusk, which occupies almost the same market share. This is a deck that's relevant, and just looking at it, it had really good showing since the beginning of the year. Had a little drop off, but then it's been putting up numbers. But the only thing is there aren't many of it in the tournament. And because there aren't many, it'll be very dependent on the matchups it gets. Because again, if it gets matched up against like some Ceruledge, it'll kind of be really good. But then again, things like Bolt and those kind of decks, or even another one prizer, or even an Iron Hand, has a chance to just wreck any deck pretty quickly. So because of that lack of consistency and purely depending on matchups, it's relevant, but it's not a top cut. It'll depend too heavily on the matchup it has to come up against. By no means a bad deck. Could really mess you up, but again, we need something that's consistent and puts up a good showing against most things in this format. Because again, main question, can it beat a Dragapault? Again, Dragapult's 1 in 3 matches. Can you beat a Dragapault? And the answer sometimes means you may lose that race. Then we have the Milotic Block Deck. So again, really good showings in May. Really good showings in May. Couple hiccups there. But in the current format with the 1 prizes and the block thing doesn't work as much. Especially since you can still put the damage to Dragapault. You could get cross because most decks right now have an out for the block strategies. Not really going to do too much, but again, match dependent. Most on this list very match dependent, and that's what holds them back. Because if you're playing against, let's say, even a deck with type advantage, like the Ethans, like a Joltik Box sort of situation, or even a Tera Box situation, you can't really do much because when they start putting energy on something that isn't an EX, the deck kind of falls through. And also, the high energy cost means that it won't be the easiest to get going. It's kind of slow. So, that's why it's relevant, but again, very match dependent. So, working our way up the list to number 13, we have the Archaludon. So, again, Archaludon is a monster, a beast of a deck. Consistent, but not really dependent. Because you get those early hits, but one trick pony, you don't really get to do much otherwise. And of course, you have to choreograph your plays. If they get to stop you, a bit of disruption, you don't get to discard those metal energies, you're kind of shafted. Because what you have going for you is Archaludon. So if they stop you from discarding those energies, or you bring back energies and they lock you in, your ass is kind of grass. So, again, relevant. You get a lucky couple knockouts and stuff, but in terms of finishing power, it doesn't have it. So that's why we have him on the list and not really the best. So now let's get to the up and comers. So these are the rising stars who, if present at Worlds, could just be big ups. So going back down, and we'll start, of course, with my personal pick, Ethan's Thyphlosion. So again, had that 8th place in Japan. I think that's as a Shodai deck runs really well. I've been running this deck recently, and I think what's actually holding these decks back is the deck. It needs to be refined a bit, because we keep seeing these Drippy Dracloak for draw power, the Shaman for bench protection against damage decks like Marnie and those kind of things, to make sure they don't kill your Cyndaquils on bench, but that doesn't stop Dragapult, so against those Dragapult matchups, not the best. But, again, current format, we actually have access to not just Gravity Mountain anymore, and we're not using this Vitality Band, we actually have Brave Bangle. And Brave Bangle, with full Ethans discarded, allows that 320 damage with Victini, so our Ethan's Thyphlosion can actually cross even Dragapult with 1 hit, making the prize race easy. So I see this as a really strong deck coming in, and something to look out for. And again, because it didn't have such a good showing, you mightn't be expecting it, and if you underestimate the Ethan's Thyphlosion, that might be the end of you there. Especially if you're running a deck with only 2 prizes, because even after you take maybe 3 prizes, all they need to take is 3 more knockouts, and they have it in the bag. Where you still have to take out 3 of their Pokemon, and if you don't get one of those knockouts, or they manage to make you run out of steam before they keep going, That's it. Next on the list, we have the actual Ogerpon box. So, there's only been one actual instance of this deck, but I've seen it online a lot. And because the lack of stats, I think this is a deck that might sneaky in the format and might do pretty well. I'm not saying it'll make like the top 20, but it might make a top 30 again and may upset a lot of the top decks because it has that versatility and that ability to actually make plays regardless of decks it comes across, and that consistency running Teal Mass, Ogerpon, and with the mass change to actually adapt the situation. So this is another one that you really have to look out for, and if you make a mistake, they really could capitalize, and that might be enough to get them. Because remember, again, even last year with the Thorns, it was an upset, and there's always a couple of these rogue decks that make it in here. Next, we have our old dog that's learning new tricks with Charizard. So, here's the thing. This isn't a new iteration of Charizard by any means, and I mean any means. This is the same Zard we all know and love, just straight Zard, Pidgeot, and a little fish. Fish fry, I want to call it. And that's it. And recently, it's just been putting up some decent numbers. Only a couple in tournaments, but even at my local game store, I've seen this deck do pretty well. And we even have a sneak first place here at NAIC New Orleans, which is a pretty big tournament. So, and even in May, there's a special event where it also snuck in and took first place. And you're seeing like some top showings. But remember, it's particularly just the old variant with just Pidgeot, that variant. The ones with the Duskull and all of that, not doing as well, or even the Noctowl variant. And I'm chopping that up to the speed and just the raw the Charizard. The fact that they're going straight for the knockout and not looking for no fancy plays or anything like that. They're trying to get up to Zard and they're trying to just start taking knockouts as fast as possible. Tank those hits, keep it alive, bounce your Zard, whoever it takes, but get those hits, get that boss, and knockout. And especially in this format where top decks have those 2 prize games and they might be able to take out a Zard right away. If you get to Zard quick enough and you get to get a Pidgeot for those bosses quick enough, you can have it in the bag. So again, that's why he's up on the watch list. And the ones that can surprise you, we have Zard. As we move on with that, the next on our list would be the Zoroark Deck. Again, it hasn't had any like wins, top showings, but it has consistently been getting better. So you would see that it wasn't doing that well, and it just has some top players playing going up. And then next month we gain a little better at it, and I've seen its first top showing here early in June, but it does have some advantages in terms of card draw and a few minor ones against some of the top decks in the form of the revenge attack from our Reshiram here, the powerful rage, as well as its excellent draw engine, and that 280 is a good tank. So yeah, just knock down a couple, don't worry about that. So that's right on the up and coming list. It's not by any means a bad deck, but it needs a bit of work and pretty good in matchups and solid. It just needs a bit more showing because again, it's not that popular, so that's another thing to do. Because it's not too popular, that also means that there are too many decks that saw play for us to see how it does in all the matchup. But it's still up there and still did such a good showing even with that small market share. Because remember, even though there's a 1% market share, that's still pretty good. Our next up and comer to look out for is Joltik Box. So Joltik Box is many people pride and enjoy. It is the most aggressive deck in the format. Hands down, no question. Even the top decks like Dragapault, even Raging Bolt, they aren't as aggressive as the Joltik Box. Because again, all they're doing is getting this Joltik, trying to load up the hands, trying to load up the Chew, trying to load up the Bear, trying to load up the Mew, wherever it takes, and just swinging for defense. You want to win the prize race, you want to cross something that's too big, sustainability with Pikachu. It picks one thing, it does it well, and that's the hallmark of one of the top of all those top decks and one of the top decks. So again, that's what we're talking about here. That is what makes some of these decks so good and so consistent. The only weakness of the Joltik box is very dependent on that setup with the Jolt. And unfortunately, sometimes you don't always get that. Because if you get the coin flip wrong in the wrong time, the wrong setup, you might be in for a hard time. Because if they make you go first, and they have a way to get to the Joltik, and they get rid of it, you have a slow start, you could come back, but it isn't the easiest thing to come back. Also, if they get rid of your energy and knock you out, you need to take another turn to set up with the Jolt. And that turn may be enough for some of the top decks to come back. Also, that 38 points on the Joltik not the best idea. Dragapault is just food. Monkey Dory is just food. So even after you get the setup and you swap in and take the prize, a monkey could equalize, get rid of Joltik, and you might be able to take a 3 prize turn off that. And again, this current format that might be unacceptable. A Joltik set up a hand and they boss into maybe a Mew, knock out this, put damage on a Pikachu, and you set up there to just have a full load. So that volatility is why it may not be one of the top contenders we have there. But again, that doesn't take away from its up and coming status. And the final one on all this, Flareon. Well, I prefer to call this an EV box, quite frankly. Okay, so we have Ogerpon Box and all that. You have all the different EVs and you still have some other options. And the EV box is one of the most versatile decks in the format, but it is pretty precise. So the wrong price may set you back, and some cards not being able therefore to find the right time could spell losses. But if you do have all the right people and you have the search to find them with enough, they could fight any deck, top, bottom, rogue, even a top 4, they could do it. So that's why they're an up and coming list versus the top. Because they can up and comers could still be on my top list, but these are ones that could rise. Because remember, even though it's up here, it's still at 5%. So there we go. And I'll just not go by top 4 decks because quite frankly they're the most popular. So they'll obviously have lots of showings. But just looking at Marnie, yeah, Marnie putting up numbers top 30 for the longest while. Top contender, no question. And I started with this as my top contenders because you could just see the numbers as I look at them. Top showings there, really good split. Is not a bad deck. And that consistency carrying into Worlds, very intimidating, could force a couple misplays. They have a very decent shot at win. Also the availability of it and how easy it is to learn. It might be just a pickup and surprise people with your deck choice. Next will be Raging Bolt, also top contender. Steady, putting out numbers, nothing, no mountain too high, no sea too deep. He getting through everybody. He could get through all the blocks. They have pieces for that now. Find what you need, the draw power, the consistency, and the raw power itself. Very nice. Could be one of the top contenders for me, not number 1. Because we can see here, even with all these really good placements, no argument, one of the top decks. But I don't think it's ready to cut yet, because again, there are a few new cards that came out in the format, and a lot of people are still finding their place. So, the king might get dethroned. King or princess. Of course, we'll go after the king now. Dragapault himself, most popular deck in the format. And obviously, lots of top showings, but remember, top showings, most popular also mean has some bottom showing, ass outside, meaning there are people who play Dragapault and they don't do well. So as much as they are really good Dragapault players, I see here they're also really bad Dragapault. And because of how popular Dragapault is, they may end up facing off each other, and sometimes it's not the best deck that win, luck of the draw. So, again, up there, could deal with a lot. This Dragapault Zard variant, pretty good. And I still seeing the Dusknoir variant alive, even straight Pult. But Pult is certainly going to be there in the top 4. But the question is it going to take the crown? And finally, of the top 4 currently, Gardevoir, best for last. Currently, this is one of the only decks that made it out of rotation and is still fucking kicking. What fuck? Every single set there is something printed. There's a new strategy that has to get added or could be added to Gardevoir. This deck has been consistently putting up numbers for the longest while. I hate it because it is a lot of plays and stuff, but can't dispute how well it does. Previous before rotation, they had all a drop out with the previous Curlia. They got a replacement in the form of nothing. They didn't get extra drop. They got an answer to Dragapault with Lilies Clefairy, so they can also return and kill that. They changed to adding Monkey to now just supplement that damage output to get over the 1 prizes and a smaller Pokemon to get around those bench protection. Chef's kiss. And all of that has culminated in these numbers here. Look at these showing. Consistent top 30. Really good showing, really good numbers. Even tests. These are test decks we need to listen. And they still reach that far. That means a lot. And considering how much is being tested in Japan, that may carry over to Worlds as well. So we'll see. Because remember, early in June, seeing that first, second, and fourth year, this is one of the most popular decks. And then still a second here in the last tournament of June. So we're looking at a monster. Gardy is top. As much as I hate to admit it, Gardy is top 2. So now for the final part of it, my guess of how it's going to turn out. So the verdict. For me, my top 5 would be Bolt, Gary, then we have Ethan, Marnie, then Paul. My reasoning for that being that Bolt is so quick that given any chance or any advantage, is going to try and take the lead. Yes, it could lose to Ethan in terms of a prize race, but it could just kill the baby unique because they have to get up to that damage and ramp up to it, and there's no evolution, so the gravity mountain doesn't help. They have no significant advantage other than prize race and damage. And a good bolt with a decent draw could just run you down. And that's about it. Even against Gardy, the hit points don't matter, so even crossing a Dragapault or any of the other 2 prizes in the format, just food. Card draw, they have it. They have a chance. My second is Gardy. Again, like I said, top 2, first or second. I only put it slightly behind the Raging Bolt purely because it's so dependent on getting to Gardevoir. So if they actually stop you getting top of deck from getting to Gardevoir, you're fucked. It's pretty hard to stop it. But even if it's do stop it for time, once it starts going, even that late game, those last 3 to 2 prizes, it could still make a comeback and could still wipe you. So you can't count him out and he can't be out of the top 10. Next would be, again, right now we have the Brave Bangle that hasn't seen tournament play yet. We have so many ways to find it. This is going to be a big upsetter in this tournament. I'm calling it now. But the thing is, if it only has a small showing, that could even work in a person's favor, and a large showing will work even more so. It has an advantage against so many of the top decks in terms of prize race, in terms of type advantage, in terms of speed, in terms of even speed again, and in terms of just targeting. Of the top decks, Gardy has the best shot because simply those Monkey Dories could just put damage and keep the knockouts coming and try to defer the setup. But Ethan's up there. I have him as that top 3. Marnie, super consistent. And as it's been getting better, Marnie has a very good shot at making. But the Marnie is dependent on the matchups and even the draws they get, so we'll see. No, nothing to add, nothing to take away. Very good deck, very consistent. It's a solid choice. Look at that. It's second, fifth, ninth, all that. Top 20, so much of them. Marnie. That's going to be a very popular. And again, that 5% share means that it'll actually be showing up. And then the final deck that I think will be there, of course, is Pult. There's so much Pult, one must get through. And of course, again, the consistency, the card draw, the doing everything, Pult is there. But I don't think it's the best deck currently. It has made it out of a couple of sets now, a couple of seasons. But you'll see how battle tested. Because last cycle, it didn't make the cut. Maybe he could come back for each one now. I don't think so. But any possibility of an upset, and that's like bad matchups, like a misplay here or there, my alternative list would be Gardy, Eton, Bolt, Joltik Box, and then the Ogerpon Box. Because if they get the right matchups going into those final matches into Top Cut, all these decks will just cut their way and slaughter their way all the way to the top. But again, it's dependent on the matchups they got and the matchups they get. The Gardy could take advantage of any misstep, so that's why it's number 1. The Ethan, underestimated, will decimate. The Bolt, people saying he might be a little weak, but turn your back on a dragon and he'll eat you. Joltik Box, again, because of the speed and consistency, that's all you need to take that to the next level. And if they can't capitalize on the weaknesses of the deck, you're out. Because if you can't move fast enough or you don't draw the pieces in the early game, there ain't much you could do. Not at fucking all. And finally, like I said, the versatility of the Ogerpon Box and the fact that people may just look down on it might work in its advantage. And if that's the case, you're looking at an upset just the way people was looking down on Thorns last year. Yeah, he get in because a man do a pile of shit. But it's still won fair and square in the final. And as I keep telling people, in Pokemon, any deck has a chance of winning once you put enough time into it. You have a clear goal, you have a bit of consistency in yourself and with the deck, there's a chance you can make it. Because on this list, again, these are just the most popular decks. If we go back a bit further, we will see other decks. Look at that, Blaziken here, Festival Leaves here, Rocket Spider-Ups here. We have other decks, and there are many more under that 1%. There'll be custom decks in this tournament that might be able to just run up the ladder. Who knows? But we'll find out in the next few days. So again, this is my first celebration. This is a long ass video. Hey, Shrubwell love. I'm thinking about tomorrow we'll do one on how to face these top 7 deck. I'm choosing 7, lucky number 7, and yeah, it's not picking a deck and getting weak against them. It's how to simply play against them and capitalize on their weakness. And let's see if anybody will use those strategy into Worlds. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you for giving me your time. I really appreciate it. If you're hearing this after the Worlds, hey, if I boy wrong, feel free to tell me in the comments. But if I'm right, just know we all take time to make notes and just keep playing the game you like. Every Pokemon is someone's favorite Pokemon, so try to be kind, and that's it. Have a good day.